cooking along with me or watching for the baked feta pasta today. I'm actually going to grab the feta right out of the refrigerator because it is warm where I am. I'm joining you from Red Lodge, Montana today. I'm visiting my parents. I'm not in my usual Colorado spot. So different cooking demo here. We're in the nice kitchen for it today, so I'm excited to join you. We will be making a few modifications to the recipe today to be a little more mindful. This cooking demo is paired with our mindfulness retreat, so we're going to really focus on how we can make a regular recipe a little bit healthier, as well as kind of growing some of our own vegetables that you will see today as well. So just being a little more mindful in the kitchen, knowing that you can enjoy these fun, popular recipes without being too overdoing it too much. So to start, I've already got my water boiling. So if you have it, go ahead and start to boil that water. I have a gluten allergy, so I will be using gluten-free noodles today. This is a brand I've never tried, so I'll try it with you. Looks like it's Delaglio imported Italy pasta. So I'm just going to start to pour those in. The gluten-free noodles take a little bit longer, so I'm just going to start those. But if you're using the regular noodles, continue to warm up that boiling water. I'm also going to be making zoodles today, so that'll be our difference as well. So go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees. We're going to bake 400 degrees. It's a really warm kitchen. So I don't always make this recipe on hot days because the oven really heats it up. Something I use, not with this recipe, it's impossible to do, but what you can do is you can use an air fryer. So a lot of times I try to use that air fryer as much as I can in the summer so it doesn't heat up my entire space that I'm trying to cook in. And with the 400-degree oven, it's going to get warm in here today. So pasta's going. Oven is heating up. Someone is not on mute. So if you could be sure to check and make sure you're on mute. There's a little bit of echo. No worries though. We're all human. Sometimes we unmute ourselves. And we will get started. I'm going to switch to the camera angle now and start with the chopping of the things we're going to be changing up. I am not going to be using chicken today. I'm going to be using these Italian chicken sausages. So these are just an organic chicken sausage. There was no nitrates in these as well. So something you want to look out for if you are sensitive is to those nitrates. Get as low level nitrates as you can, especially if you are a male. You want to be sure that you are not getting too many of those nitrates. I've got my feta here. I'll give you a modification for feta as well, but we'll start chopping these up because I want to make sure they're cooked. So go ahead and take out your olive oil. Olive oil is going to spritz into your pan. And you always want to use high quality olive oil. When you use a higher quality olive oil, when it bakes at that high temperature, it doesn't turn into a carcinogen. So we want to be avoiding those carcinogens for us. And we're just going to chop these Italian sausages into, I don't know, half-inch portions here. Most of these sausages are already pre-cooked, so you don't have to overly worry about them getting cooked all the way through. If you are going to be using chicken today or in the future for this recipe, be sure that you get that chicken up to an internal temperature of 165 for chicken. I have a digital meat thermometer. It's so nice to check meat. And I like the digital ones because this sounds impatient of me, but you don't have to wait for it to spin all the way around to the temperature. You get that exact readout right away of what you're supposed to be doing. So move my zoodler out of the way here. Oh, someone is waiting in the lobby. I just got a notification if Ethan or Stephanie, I think I saw Lynn on, would like to let somebody in. Thank you. So we're just going to continue to chopping here. Something that we're working on in the mindfulness retreat as we were in on Mondays is kind of just taking note of everything that you're doing while you're in the kitchen. It's fun to cook. I think it's fun to cook. So just instead of looking at it as a chore, trying to think of it as something fun. So taking the time to note that you're chopping all the way, maybe the sounds that you are hearing as you chop, noticing if some of your sausages are larger or smaller. I've definitely got some inconsistencies here, but we're all human. And almost done with our third sausage here. This portion I'm making is for 4. I've got a 3 family that I will be feeding today. So I've got my mom, my dad, and me. We're all going to have this after lunch. So also being mindful that when we cook, we are taking care of our bodies, but we're also taking care of people around us. So if you do cook for people, just cooking is caring is kind of what I think of. All right, so this will be my last little sausage there. I'm going to go ahead and place it in this pan. It should be, I should have told myself to turn it on. So, oops. So I've got a little slowed down here. There we go. All right, so the sausages are gonna be the first thing. These, I think, take the longest amount of time. So the sausages will be cooking here. Other things that we're gonna add in today, add-ins, if you saw the recipe, we're gonna add some mushrooms in, not too many, just a few mushrooms, get some nice nutrients from our plants. We're gonna add in some spinach. I was unable to find spinach at the store. So what I've got today is this pea protein mix. I've never had pea greens before, so I'm here to try them with you today. I guess you could pick all the spinach out of here, but I'm just gonna go for it and I'm gonna cook these. The spinach is gonna be the last thing you wanna add in to your mix because the spinach is so wilty. We don't want to over wilt our spinach. So those are our add-ins today, and then we'll make zoodles as well. So we've got zoodles, we got lots of stuff going on. My oven just dinged. So we're going to start to, I'll switch my camera here. We are going to start to add into the recipe the part that takes a long time. So this is going to take 40 minutes to bake. Someone is chatting to their children, so I hope that you're cooking with your family today. That sounds extra fun. So 40 minutes is a while. I've got one already in there, so don't worry. We're not going to be here for 40 minutes today. How I like to start this is I like to really get some good olive oil in there. I've even used for this recipe flavored olive oils. I had I think it was like a garlic truffle oil the other day that I used this for. It was so good. I really enjoyed it. So if you can get those flavored olive oils, it adds a nice flavor in here as well. Coating the bottom of the pan all the way around. Maybe move, let's get a little bit closer here. I got a glare. There we go. You're going to move this olive oil around, ensuring that tomatoes aren't going to stick to that bottom. We are going to use cherry tomatoes. So my tomatoes weren't quite ready. Ethan's going to put a picture of my tomato plants in the chat right now. I bought these tomatoes. My tomatoes weren't quite ready, but it's about that time of year where if you've got these grape tomatoes that you grew yourself, you can go ahead and insert those into your recipes whenever you can. Also in the chat, Ethan's going to put a picture of my parents' greenhouse garden area. My dad built that all himself. It's really impressive. So if anyone else has any amazing greenhouse garden scapes that they're working on this summer, I would love for us to share those in the chat box if you have time, or afterwards go ahead and grab those. So we will be seeing lots of fun tomato plants, I'm sure. I've also got basil in front of me, but we will add that in a second. So you're going to take the tomatoes, ensure that they're all coated around. So I just like to shimmy mine around. Make sure you don't have an accident here where you drop them. Move those tomatoes all around. You're going to take your feta out. I've tried feta crumbles before and they do not work. So find a full block of feta, all in there, the feta cheese itself. So if you use the crumbles, I think they coat something on them that makes them crumbly, so they will not work for this. So do not try the crumbles. And it is really hard to find baked feta right now, or the feta block like this, because this recipe is so popular. I have one in the oven right now that is goat cheese. So I'm actually going to take that one out. It looks about done. I started this one before. And nutritionally speaking, I looked between goat cheese and feta, and they are about the same. So I think the goat cheese had 10 more calories per serving, but the serving size was the same. So if you cannot find the feta and you like goat cheese, you can add goat cheese, and I'll show you that one in a second. We're going to plop this one in the oven. I've got just some Italian seasoning here. I'm going to spritz all over it. If you have that flavored olive oil, you don't necessarily need as many seasonings because that olive oil is going to bring a lot to the table. 400 degrees. This baked feta is going to go in there for 40 minutes. That's why I had two going. We did not have all the time in the world. Set my timer here for 40 minutes. Nice job. And we will get back to our pots. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. The sausages are needing a good stir here, coating them with that olive oil, ensuring that they're getting that nice crisp outside, brown outside. And then they are going to be nice and warm on the inside. Also, your pasta here today, maybe you need to give that a little stir. Definitely should have the water boiling by now. My gluten-free noodles, if anybody has tried gluten-free noodles, it's They are very hard to cook, I think. They go from underdone, way overdone. It's a minute in there, you got to get the gluten-free noodles to perfectly align. So they are not done yet. Crunchy on the inside. Those are, if Oakley was here, those are dog noodles. Not ready for my consumption yet. I'm going to switch the camera now and we will get back to our chopping. There we go. Perfect. So our sausages are cooking nicely over here. We're going to work on our mushrooms. I want to take the stem out. I'm pretty sure nobody eats the stems. If you want to, you can peel the outsides. Peel the outsides, and then it kind of gets that sticky portion of the mushroom off. And then we're just going to cut, and then head in. Good. Keep going with your mushrooms. These are regular white mushrooms. I personally really like baby Bella mushrooms. I think they bring a really rich flavor. And sometimes you can barbecue the large portobello mushrooms in recipes. I know that we did a kebab recipe last month, so you can use those in kebabs as well. My husband does not like them, so maybe create your own skewer of the portobello mushrooms if you do like those. When we're doing this recipe, you want to be sure you're not adding too much of the added ingredients. We've only got that one block of feta, so we want to make sure that the feta, that's the creamy base to our pasta. So we want to make sure that we're not adding too much to where that cream base is going to be washed out and not able to coat all of this. Look at this crazy mushroom, everybody. That's the craziest mushroom I've ever seen. Perfect for cooking demo. I didn't even plan that. Nature isn't perfect, everybody. All right. Chop those up. Speaking of nature, I'm in Montana this morning. I went fishing and there was wild raspberries everywhere we were. And I probably ate 200 raspberries this morning for breakfast. So that's how I started my day. So it's nice to know that the food that we eat does come from somewhere. All right, I put about 6 mushrooms in there. I think that that's plenty mushrooms for me and my serving size here. The next thing, we're not going to add that spinach in yet, just because, again, it gets so wilty if you overcook it. But we are going to start to make our zoodles. So I've got this cool zoodle maker. There's also an attachment for your KitchenAid that it will zoodle for you. You don't have to do what I'm about to do. So there's an end stopper here for safety. I've got this zucchini here that I grew. My mother grew in her garden today. Ethan's going to put a picture of what it started as today in my garden. As you can see, farm to table here. And then this is one that doesn't quite fit in the zoodle maker. This is a giant zucchini. This one will be for a recipe later on. It doesn't quite fit in the zoodle maker like this size. So we've got two sizes of the zucchinis here. And we will start to zoodle. How this zoodle maker works is you're just going to push it into there, and then you're going to spin it over to the side. And as you can see, I got some zoodles going. I like to pan sear my zoodles. I've seen some recipes where you boil them, and I think it makes the zucchini mushy. So we're going to add them into this. And again, not cook it for too long, because then I think they get mushy. I've kept the skin on. I'll do the rest unpeeled so we can see here. You can also unpeel. You can take the peel off of your zucchini. The outside skin is the fiber. So if you're looking for more fiber in your diet, keeping the skins on of things is a great option. Instead of peeling your potatoes, keep the skins on, make those mashed potatoes, just get a little bit extra of that fiber. If you don't like the skins, I would rather you peel it and eat the vegetable than not eat it because the skins are on it. It's better to get that nutrients no matter how you can. And back to our zoodles. Another hard part once you skin the zoodle is that it's really slippery. So we don't want to see me lose a finger on, I was going to say on television, but we're just on a little cooking demo here. On a Wednesday, I'd like to keep all my fingers intact. You are going to get out of the center, the seeds. These are just the little seeds on the inside. So the zoodler is decorking the inside of the zucchini, leaving you with the outsides. During our TV going, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I'm going to add those zoodles in. So just incorporating some vegetables here instead of the pasta is a way you can make this recipe very healthy. I've got gluten-free pasta. I would not necessarily say that gluten-free is a healthier pasta calories to nutrient-wise, but maybe using a whole grain pasta instead. Look at that. This zoodler was fun. I think that you could probably get kids to eat zoodles because they look pretty fun. I don't have any kids, but these are just looking fun to me. So if I was a kid, I think I'd like those. We're going to stir this one more time. I think that these sausages are done. I'm going to show you a browned one, what we're looking for on each side here. A nice brown coat to the outside, and then it'll be warm on the inside. Internal temp is not a big deal again on this because we are working with safe ingredients that have already been cooked. I'm going to go ahead and add the spinach now, maybe a handful or so. This is not a science here today. We're just having fun in our kitchen. If you are someone who loves to measure it out, the recipe was on the recipe card. You can do exact amounts. For me, I'm going for eye looking here. And we will let that spinach simmer down as well as our zoodles. So take those zoodles, put them in your pan, and then you're just going to incorporate all of those ingredients. So I'm going to switch the camera so we can see each other, and we're just going to stir all of these ingredients in together. I'm going to check the pasta as well while my zoodles are cooking. See if we've got, ooh, now I'm done. So you're going to get out a strainer. Now I forgot to get out, so I'm going to be below you here. Fun part about working in a kitchen that isn't yours is not knowing where anything is. So, all right, we're gonna go for the dump method with your holding of your spoon. After I check one more drawer. Here it is, everybody. Okay, caught it. So, placing your strainer that you've now found in the sink, grab onto the pot, and you are going to save a little bit of that pasta water inside the pasta. We are going to save that pasta water because when we coat our noodles, we want a little bit of that water in there to help kind of not, the cheese gets a little clumpy if you don't have some water. So just taking a little bit of pasta water, show you up close here, just keeping a little bit of pasta water in the pan, not anything too soaking. So make sure that you don't get too much in there. One time I made it and it was almost like soupy because of it. So just keep a little bit in there. Checking. All right, I think I'm at a good amount. We're going to pour the pasta noodles back into this pot. We will be mixing everything in here. While our zoodles are zoodling, that's going to be a verb now, zoodling, I'm going to show you what it looks like when you take it out. So it will start. And good, you guys can see me. You can see the tomatoes have kind of popped open with the heat of the oven at 400 degrees, that's warm. And then this is a goat cheese one, so it pretty much does the same thing. I'll mix it up and show you. Halfway through at 20 minutes, I took you can take a smasher or a spatula, and I squeezed all the juice out of those tomatoes. So I will mix this together now, and I'll show you what it looks like. The goat cheese is crumbling. We've got our tomatoes that are opened up. Good. All right, just co-mingling now the goat cheese with those tomatoes. And I'm going to add pasta into this actually because I want it to look pretty in my nice serving dish. So I'm going to take my pasta. I'm only going to do about half of what I cooked. I'm going to pour it into here. With that pasta water, again, that pasta water is going to help that cheese from coming into a solid. If you do not like goat cheese, I just continue to use the feta. I personally like the goat cheese version better. Me and my husband think that it's a little bit more rich. As we know, goat cheese is a very strong flavor, though. My father hates goat cheese, so he will not be enjoying this one with us today. Go ahead and transition now to show you what it looks like when you mix it up with the pasta. On my hot plates. I'm worried this one's still hot. I'm going to change camera angles here. All right, so we've got our baked feta dish here. This one I'm going to leave plain. This would be just with the tomatoes and the pasta without all of this. So we will be missing all of the nutrients that comes from the spinach, that comes from the zoodle, that comes from the protein in the meat. You can certainly make this. It's a nice treat yourself pasta meal, but just incorporating a new way to make a popular recipe. I also think that if you add the meat and the spinach and the zucchini, that you can easily feed more people. This is a 2-person meal, but this one with all the extras could easily be a 3 or 4-person. You can also take the zoodles and put them into there as well. So lots of options for you today. We're going to continue on these zoodles. We have been baking our internal one here. Let's see what we're at. We are not close yet on that one. That's why I had 2 ready for us today, because 40 minutes is a long time to bake. Set that down. We'll continue to bake our zoodles here. We're at 20 minutes. Awesome. We are making progress. I'm just going to cook these zoodles down to show you what they should look like. If you wanted to not have them be as long, I use 1 full zucchini, so my noodles are really long. You could cut them up in half beforehand. Nice job. Good. If at any point you think you want to add a little bit of basil, that's what we're going to do now. So I didn't want to add the basil again. With the spinach, it gets really wilty. So here is my basil plant. We are just going to take a little bit off of the sides, and we will add that in. If you are using any sort of chemicals on your plants, be sure to wash these. So I'm just going to turn over behind you, and I'm going to wash these real quick. In fact, I'm going to turn up a little bit so you can see. So smell that basil. Being mindful in the kitchen, taking note of what things smell like. So, wowee, does this basil smell good? I also really like basil. I like to do the tomato, basil, and mozzarella cheese balls in a recipe. That's one of my, what is that? Caprese salad. I think it's just so refreshing in the summer to have some of those lighter dishes. And cheese isn't necessarily a bad thing. You want to be careful of saturated fats when you do use cheeses. So, knowing that when we are using this recipe, we use a full block of our feta cheese. We should not eat a full block of feta cheese in a sitting, right? That's a way too much for anybody. So knowing that this serving size of feta cheese is probably for 3 or 4 people, but you can still have some cheese. There's a lot of protein, good rich vitamins in there. Just know that you're not supposed to eat a whole block of feta cheese, even though you may want to. It's not always the best option. So I've got my basil plant that I placed in there as well. Cooking a little bit. I'm going to pull out the feta cheese and the tomatoes, show you our progress there. So I will switch camera angles. Just think about which one was better. I feel like I have these out already. I'm going to get 12 oven mitts out by the time the class is over here. So at 400 degrees, we've probably been baking this one for 15 minutes, and I'm going to show you, and I'm pretty sure it's not done. Ooh, it's hot in there. You can hear the sizzling of the tomatoes. Halfway through here is where we are going to smash the tomatoes. If you have a potato smasher, it works really good too. Be careful when we're doing this because those tomatoes are going to be really warm. Switching. Oh, no, I think this is a good angle. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to press down and squeeze the juice out of those tomatoes. Press down and squeeze. You do need to use cherry tomatoes for this. I've tried the large ones and they don't roast as well. I've tried this recipe a lot. This is a weekly menu item in my house. Woo! That one was exploding. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this closer to you to show you what the feta block looks like. It is definitely not done. The goat cheese, if you use the goat cheese, is a little bit easier and quicker to melt. So if you're in a pinch, maybe use the goat cheese. So the tomatoes are all squished, but the feta block is definitely not jelly yet. So I've showed you halfway. I'm going to place this in here for another 20 minutes. We will not be here to see the end. I'll post a picture in the Teams chat so you can all see it though. And when this is done, I'm going to take all my ingredients that I sizzled here with you today and place them in here. Instead of using that pasta, I'm using the zoodles. I've got protein in there. I've got mushrooms in there. I've got some spinach and some pea proteins. And then I've also got a little bit of that basil. Feel free to add garlic, whatever you like into your recipe today. One last thing I will say is that this recipe is delicious. So I hope that you all enjoy it. We won't get to see the end until a little bit later, but I will not keep you on for another 20 minutes of me just standing here waiting for watching watch clock. What is it? The watch pot doesn't boil. So I will go ahead and stop sharing. Feel free to ask me any questions you would like. I think that's it. I will give you one more glimpse at the goat cheese pasta that is done. And we will be out of here. So this will be my lunch today. Actually, I'll probably wait for the zoodle one. You need some zoodles at lunchtime. Don't want to overdo it at lunch. All right, then I'm going to stop sharing. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to unmute yourself, share what